What up, y'all? It is the Real Ball Watcher. Grab them binoculars and something on top of my head right quick. Let me turn it to the right one. Oh, degreed up? Yeah, big degree, you feel me? New alumna, you feel me? Alumnus from the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical University. Clap it up for me. Yeah. But anyways, you know, just a little life update, let y'all know. I wasn't here last week because I was celebrating that graduation. I didn't feel like dropping no video after that. I was just chilling. But we back in the grind mode. Tassel's already been turned, so I'm devoted to y'all boys and getting this content out. Now, I might be starting a Patreon soon so we can start getting some more SEC players up because they like to demonetize stuff. But we'll have to see about that. But anyways, today we're going to talk about the boy, Mason Graham. Some of y'all been waiting on this, some of y'all haven't, but it's here for you. So let's get into it. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Share the video if you feel it, if you're feeling it, whatever you want to call it. Do all the YouTube stuff. Now, Mason Graham, 6'3", 320 pounds, 21 years old. I want to say it's maybe 22. So I think he's been there for 4 years now, or it's his third year actually. So your boy has been super good, and he's been highly touted since before the season even started, and he's lived up to the hype. We're not even going to talk about the stats because it don't necessarily matter as much for a defensive tackle, but he's had at least 2.5 sacks every year. He had 2.5, 3.5, at least around 27 to 35 tackles this year. I think he had 40 something. So yeah, he's been pretty good. Anyways, first thing I want to talk about, you got to talk about his hand usage. Now, let's go ahead and get the flashy stuff out the way first. Pass rushing, as far as his hand usage, he uses a lot of good moves. I mean, I say a lot of good moves, but the moves he does use, they're really good, and they make for really good highlight film. They make for really good highlight tapes of, hey, this guy looks elite when he's doing this pass rushing thing, which he is one of the better pass rushers in this class and probably the best interior rusher between him and Walter Nolan. It depends. But really good hand usage. He's able to get what I like. I talk about this on Twitter. What I like, and guys, is if your pass rush plan, if you have a pass rush plan, I like that a lot. I like to see you go to your moves. I like to see you using your hands a lot, which he uses his hands on every play. There's not a play where it's just like, oh, he just running into this guy's chest. He at least has a plan when he's going into his pass rush, and even on the run defense plays, he has a plan also. So that's something I love to see in defensive linemen, and it's really important for interior because it's a lot more. It's a condensed space. It's not a big gaping sideline between you and the tackle. So you're gonna have to win with a lot more refinement and a lot more moves on the inside. It's also why interior guys don't have as much splashy stats as the edge guys and can't make as big of an impact, whether it's in the rushing and pass rushing wise. But yeah, I mean, he has a lot of swim moves. He looks really good when he's swiping guys away with double arms or even one arm. He has a really good bull rush into a rip move. And also, I've seen him do a couple pin and pulls with that bull rush also. So really good defensive tackle moves. But like I said, I just love the fact that he's consistently using his hands. He always has a plan to use his hands, which I'll go into the next point with this. Like I said, get the flashy stuff out of the way. His quickness, dog. He has a super duper fast or super quick first step. He gets off the ball immediately. And like I said, for those interior guys, most of the time they're playing on the interior because they're not fast enough to play on the outside. They don't have long enough arms, something like that. Most guys, you want to be a tackle because you get paid there. Simple as that. But you're either too small, you're not fast enough, your arms aren't long enough, something like that, or you just wanted to play guard, maybe. But his quickness oftentimes get guys off balance, out of position, and that's where that hand usage come from. So he's marrying his physical abilities with the technical abilities when it comes to his pass rush and sometimes in the run game. So yeah, just getting off quick immediately, getting the guy out of position and being able to swipe him off, being able to swim him off. He's put guys on their face. He's also put guys on their back in pass rush sets. And that just shows how off balance he's able to get guys in that condensed area. So really disruptive as a interior rusher because of that quickness and because of that hand usage. Also, he's quick in the run game, and it's not just necessarily pass rush sets. In the run game, if he sees somebody trying to reach him or he sees they're doing a pin and pull, he has the quickness to get out of his stance, read where that's going, and beat the block to where it's trying to be, or just meet the running back in the backfield. Now, he has overran a couple plays, so you want to see him get better at that. But the fact that he's able to get back there so fast, I mean, before anybody else on that defensive line, and he played on a pretty good defensive line last year with Chris Jenkins, Kenneth Grant, and then him, and I think it was another guy up there. He has a pretty good defensive line this year. Kenneth Grant's still there, and he's reacted much faster than anybody else on a lot of these plays. So that quick first step, that quickness, that elusiveness to, maybe even a little bit of bend, just a little teeny bit, just a little bit, but even that bend and quickness to, especially on stunts and things like that, it's going to be really good. Yeah, it helps a lot. So that's the flashy stuff. That's when it comes to the pass rush things. But now we can get into more, what he's going to make on a day-to-day, or not a day-to-day, but a down-to-down basis, make his most impact, is in the run game. First thing you want to talk about is he has just a great punch. I talked about it, I want to say, with Jalen Walker. Maybe it's a Jalon or Jalen. One of them. But yeah, that punch to where you hit somebody and their head snaps back, or, you keeping them off of you. You're getting into their chest before they can get into yours, and then you can shed and make a play. He is a really, really good punch. You've seen it in a couple of those pass rush clips. It's also helped him in a pass rush, because if he gets to a guy's chest first and you're exposed, he has the strength and the base to control you throughout that. He's able to punch, stand his ground, shed off, make a play in the run, punch, use that quick step to first get off before you, and then that punch also knocks you off balance. Talked about with that push-pull method they use in the pass rush, your punch has a lot to do with that, because you want to punch, get them off balance, and then pull them back and throw them by. So he has really, really good punch that you really want to see in the defensive end, especially for a guy that's much smaller like him. You want him to play above his size, and the way that he has a good base, the way that elusiveness and quick step helps, and all factors into the strength that he has to get into that punch, it helps him punch way bigger than his weight. He's like Tank down there. He's a much smaller guy playing against giants, but he has some power behind him. So Tank, when I say Tank, I mean Gervonta Davis, if y'all don't know, if y'all not boxing fans. Next thing I want to talk about, my bad, quick little tangent. Really good anchor also. I want to say great, but there is a couple plays where he's kind of washed down. I've seen him get pancaked by a double team, you feel me? But I mean, it's kind of hard to blame him for that. But when you're comparing him for what he's going to be, a top 10, maybe even 5 pick, you got to think about guys like last year, the dude from Texas, I can't think, where he handled double teams much better. He's able to drop down to a knee, split that double team, make a play. But he still has a good enough anchor to hold his ground. I've seen him hold his ground and still be able to make a play through double teams. I've seen him against NFL guys or guys that's much bigger than him just hold his ground and, clog up that lane. It's important for a D tackle, because you don't want them to double and then create a pile. It makes it harder for your linebackers to flow and get to the running back, or you get washed out of the play, and now the running back has this big gaping hole to run through. That was your gap. So you want to have a good anchor, but also when it comes to having a good anchor, you kind of want to muddy up where the running back is going. You want all the holes to be clogged, so if he bounces it outside, your edge rusher or your linebackers can flow over top and make that play. So having it more muddied up and not getting washed out, having a big hole or creating it, getting blown into your linebacker's hole or something like that. Pause. That was crazy. Whoa, what is going on? But yeah, you don't want to make the job, or you don't want to get pushed back into your linebacker's laps. Also, that's another thing that I should be saying. I don't see him getting pushed back too often. He may go back a yard or two. That's why I struggle to say great. He may go back a yard or two, even when it's a single block. But most of the time, he's standing his ground. He's not moving back much. Sometimes he's even moving forward if he's making a move. But if he's just anchoring down, he's a shorter guy, so he has a really good, strong base. He's a stubby kind of guy. He's able to, just hold that base. So it's pretty good anchor. I don't want to say great. I want to get expectations too high, but having a good anchor, having the great hand usage that he has that great punch that he has, and the quickness first step that he has, it makes for great splash plays in the run game, as we've all seen, and in the pass rush, but specifically for anchor in the run game. Simple as that. Next thing I want to talk about, really, really high effort. This guy is going to chase down screen plays. This guy is going to just be relentless getting to the quarterback. Now, we'll talk about what I want to see him improve on later on, but he is, whenever he's lost on the pass rush ref, he's not just going to give up. He's going to keep going, just relentlessly going. Makes it super hard for him to block him, especially on things like stunts, especially in the run game. You kind of course, if the run is like, there's no way that this guy is going to be able to get this on the opposite side of the field, 30 yards downfield, of course he'll stop running. But if it's a bubble screen to the outside, the wide receiver's trying to make a move, he's going to run out there and try to make that tackle. Really high effort or really high motor. And that's what you like to see in a guy like this. That's that dog mentality that Dan Morgan and the Panthers talk about a lot, drafting dogs, guys that fit that culture. That's what they mean. Somebody with a high motor, really high effort, really hard working guy. And he seems like that based on the tape. Last point, he's just versatile. They use him all over the line. They use him, like I said, in stunts. They use him as a straight up rusher. He's rushed from the nose. He's rushed from 3 technique. He's rushed from 4, even 5. He's stood up as a rusher on the outside and the inside. He's able to do it all. So he's able to line up across your D-line. He's not necessarily, I wouldn't say as far as the chess piece, because he's not necessarily like making as much of an impact from all those spots, but using him on stunts and things like that in games, you feel me, can open up. You see me? We won basically that Cardinals game this past week. We won that on a stunt. You feel me? So having somebody who can create those stunts and get holes open or make plays off of those stunts with his versatility and his quickness is good. So you want to put that as a note. But that's all I got. It's not going to be as much of a long-winded video as the other positions because defensive tackle is not a flashy position. I mean, bro, you just want a guy who's going to be a good run defender. You want a guy who's going to create interior pressure and push the pocket. He does more than that, which was why he's so highly touted coming out. He's much more than just a push the pocket guy. But you feel me? It's not much to consistently nag and go over like that. So let's get into stuff that's not necessarily his game. Now, the first thing you got to talk about, stuff that's not necessarily his game. He's a smaller guy, and what comes with that is guys may overwhelm him with their size, especially in double teams. That's how you get washed out a lot of times with that. But the biggest issue for me when it comes to that, I think he can maybe overcome that, just playing bigger than the size. We've seen some guys smaller than him, like Elijah Cansey, Aaron Donald, guys like that. Because I think this guy's, they say he's 6'3". I can see him at 6'2". But we've seen smaller guys be able to overcome that. What, gets me a little bit is his arm length. He definitely has shorter arms. You can see it a lot. Sometimes, I wouldn't say necessarily he gets stonewalled, but sometimes guys with much longer arms are able to get their hands on him first. And that's when you see him get moved around and controlled in the run game. That's when you see him kind of getting stuck playing pity patty with the tackle or guard in the pass rush because they have their hands on him. He's not able to reach. You feel me? He's not able to make the impact that he wants to make. So if that quick first step doesn't work, or those four moves that he usually goes to, he has a much more seasoned person in front of him, and they know these moves. They study his tape. They know what he's going to do, and he knows how he set it up, and they're able to get their hands on him first. He can be neutralized pretty easily. Now, I won't say pretty easily, but he can be neutralized often. Now, I feel like just based off his high effort and high motor, he'll still find a way to make a play eventually throughout the game. But when you're taking a guy in the top 5, you want him to be dominant. You want him to be unblockable. Having those shorter arms and not being able to overcome it with some stuff we'll talk about later on, if you don't add some things, he's not going to be that dominant, unblockable guy. He's going to be a guy that you should maybe still take in the first round for sure, but maybe you should consider him 10 and on, 10 to 15, 10 to 20. But the upside is there for you to take him in the top 5. But if it doesn't, if he doesn't add those things, he won't be, he won't give you a return on investment on that. But next thing, which I was talking about just now, you want to add more moves. You want to add more moves, switch it up, give the tackles and things a change up. I know it's a lot harder because you're on that interior and things like that, but I think he's athletic enough to get a cross chop in there. You feel me? Get a counter spin move. That's another thing I want to see is more counters. He doesn't have. I didn't see a whole bunch of tape of him countering guys. He kind of just runs around guys when he loses a little bit and tries to kind of work his way into the play, but he's not necessarily countering with moves. So you want to see him add some counters. And with his athleticism and how much he uses his hands, that's not a big ask. I believe at the next level, he'll most likely be able to add some counters into his game. So that's why I say he's still probably worth a top 5 to 10 pick around there. Because that potential and the ceiling is there, but you got to get there. You feel me? It's not a guarantee that he'll be able to get there, and it's not a guarantee that he'll be able to do it. You still got to work to get better. And sometimes guys just can't get better because they're working the wrong way or they don't work hard enough. You never know. I'm not in the meeting with these guys. Like I said, it looks like he's a hard worker because of the effort on tape, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Now, this is a little controversial, but for me, the last point here, he's disruptive, which is good. You want a guy who's going to disrupt things, but he's not dominant. And for a guy that you're going to take top 5, like there were times where the Panthers were picking 3 and 4, and guys were like, hey, take Mason Graham. We're picking now, I want to say 7, could possibly end up at 10. And now it's a little bit more feasible for me to take. Yeah, sure. If he's up there, take him no matter what, almost, especially if we're at 10. He's up there at 10, depending on who's up there. If Abdul Carter's up there, I'm taking Abdul Carter. But for now, up to me, Travis going, Abdul going. If he's up there, Mason Graham, you take him at 10 because he's not a dominant force. Like I said, those shorter arms, the lack of counter moves, the lack of moves added period, like cross chops, advanced moves, I should say. He has been blockable. He's not completely unblockable. There's plenty of tape out there where he's being blocked, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Guys are blocked all the time. So like I said, he's still worth a first round pick, but he's not a dominant guy. So I would not take him in the top 3, in the top 4, in the top 5, depending on who's there. You feel me? Eventually you got to go BPA, but depending on who's there, I would pass on him for a guy like Abdul Carter. I would pass on him for Travis Hunter. It's a couple other guys that I'll have to keep looking at the tape and see, but there are a couple guys that I'll pass on him for because he's not a dominant force right now. Now, if he adds a cross chop, if he adds some counters, if he's able to, become a little bit more unblockable, where it's like, hey, no matter what, he's going to get there, then, hey, he's going to be a dominant force. But for now, because of the physical limitations like his arm length and because of what I see on the tape, I don't think he's dominant. He's not, like if you think if the Eagles went back in time and they could redo that Jordan Davis pick, you think they would have took him that high? I want to say they took him at 9 or 8. I don't think so. It was some other guys they would have took. Look at, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What's the other guy for the Eagles that fell to 8? Jalen Carter. I don't think Mason Graham is a Jalen Carter-esque prospect. And he fell to 8, understandably because of the weed and all that stuff. But he was still going to go at least 4 at the latest because it was what? Bryce, Stroud, AR. And then, matter of fact, I think the Texans traded up to 4 or 5 to take Will Anderson. So he would have went 5, 4, 5 around there. But he fell to 9 or wherever he did because of the smoking stuff. But he's not that level of prospect. So if you're taking Mason Graham with the same capital, he may not return the same on investment. You feel me? So you just got to think about that. He's definitely disruptive, which is great. Very disruptive, matter of fact, but he's not dominant yet. So that's not in his game yet. He's not a dominant force yet. But let's get into the next. Matter of fact, before I even get into the next one, you can see that when he's double teamed. Whenever he's double teamed, most of the time he's losing. Dominant forces, Jalen Carter, Aaron Donald, guys like that, Chris Jones, you double team them, it does not matter. They're going to win at least 30% of those double teams, at the very least on pass rush reps and run game reps, things like that. They're not just going to be a good anchor. They're going to be able to make plays through that. But let's get into his player build. Let's move on. Now, I don't have no snazzy, jazzy name, but for Mason Graham's player build, I just have him as a interior disruptor. I think that's what he'd be, whether it's the run game, whether it's the pass game. I think he's going to be a disruption for your offense and knock you off schedule. Now, as a force on his own, be your defensive tackle 1, and you don't have somebody that good beside him, I kind of struggle with how high I would be on him as your only great defensive tackle or only good defensive tackle in your rotation. I guess it depends on what type of edges you have. But say we don't have Derrick Brown, right? Say we didn't re-sign him. We keep the same edges we have now. Ashawn Robinson's beside him. You drop in Mason Graham. That's not enough. I don't think he'll return top 10 investment in the first 3-4 years. Maybe eventually, but especially in the immediate impact, I don't think so. But you put him next to a guy like Derrick Brown. You put him next to a guy like Myles Garrett for the Browns, things like that. Now it's like, hey, you can't slide to him. You can't double team him. You're consistently going to leave him one-on-one, hopefully, because sometimes maybe they leave Derrick Brown one-on-one. But that also helps because now Derrick Brown's getting one-on-ones. You got to pick or choose. That's the thing. If they don't have to pick and choose and they can consistently double team him, I don't know, man. I don't know about a top 5, top 10 pick. But still a very disruptive force. I think next to somebody, doesn't even have to be somebody better than him, but next to somebody where you have to pick and choose where to double team, whether it's an edge guy or whether it's an interior guy, especially an interior guy. Now it's really scary. He'll be really, really good. Think of it in a 3-4 scheme where you can move him along the line and let him rush from everywhere. Really, really good. Now, when it comes to his shades of, I'm not super behind these comps. these aren't necessarily comps to me. This is what it says shades of. It's just I can see some of these guys' game in him. They're not comps. I'm not, laying down and saying his comp is this. But first one, Ed Oliver. I can see Ed Oliver in him a lot. Where Ed Oliver, when he has a lot, not necessarily a lot of help, when he has some help on the D line and he's not necessarily alone and he's in a dominant defense, we've seen what he did last year. I mean, I think he had 10 sacks last year. Super disruptive. I want to say 60 or 50 pressures. Really disruptive. Not necessarily, I don't know if I would say dominant, but very close to being dominant. And I can see that for Mason Graham and his ceiling being that last year's Ed Oliver, maybe on a consistent basis, maybe even, or maybe just 1, 2, 3 years out of his career, out of maybe like 10. You feel me? And that's good enough. But before that, Ed Oliver was still getting 5 sacks, 30 pressures, 4 sacks, 40 pressures, somewhere around there. I could see that being Mason Graham. Next one I want to talk about is a much more recent one, but Calijah Kancey. Calijah Kancey next to Vita Vea. This is a prime example of what I mean next to Derrick Brown. Vita Vea isn't necessarily the greatest pass rushing threat, but you have to pick and choose between those guys, and that lets Calijah Kancey feast on a lot of one-on-ones. He's able to use that quickness as a much smaller guy also, just like Ed Oliver is, use that quickness to beat guys immediately off the line and use his hands, things like that when they're off balance. Sounds like somebody I just described, right? So if we can get our own Vita Vea and Calijah Kancey, for us, in this terms, it would be Derrick Brown and Mason Graham. That could be a really, really great dominant inside force. Now, you're still going to need guys on the edge. You still see Tampa Bay are looking for edge rushers because at the end of the day, edge rushers are a premium. But you can get one in the second round and hope that they're at the very least a Josh Sweat-esque kind of guy. Or maybe a little bit better. Maybe Alex Highsmith or somebody like that. A really good edge 2/edge 1. But because you have such a dominant interior, it still works because they're getting a lot of one-on-ones. But next one I'll talk about, that's why I say these aren't comps, because I'm not necessarily the proudest of these. Johnny Newton, another guy who is really small. He's able to use, coming out of the Big Ten also. He's able to, and I think, no, Pitt was in the ACC. So Calijah Kancey's in the ACC. But, coming out of school, much smaller guy. He uses his hands a lot, uses his quickness a lot. He's really, really good in the run game. I can just see the shades of those two guys put together. It's kind of the same thing as Calijah Kancey. I think those two are kind of similar. Calijah Kancey's much more athletic than probably both of these guys, which is crazy because he tore his Achilles. He's still super athletic, I want to say. Didn't Calijah Kancey tear his Achilles? Or he tore something, some type of ligament that, it's kind of hard to come back from. But really, really good explosive guys on the interior, much smaller guys. And Johnny Newton, not the craziest rookie year. He has 2 sacks, something like that. I can see that being Mason Graham's. I think Mason Graham's a high floor prospect. I think he can still get you around 4 sacks a year and, be a Milton Williams almost. 4 sacks a year, 30 pressures. You feel me? But I think he has a really high ceiling. Calijah Kancey, that's a really good player comp. Ed Oliver, especially last year, he's having a down year this year, but that's a really good high player comp. So that's not comps, but really high, guy to be likened to, have shades of in your game. You want to see that. So, yeah, that's all I got from Mason Graham. I don't want to, bore y'all because it's defensive tackles. I don't know how great this is going to do. I love watching defensive tackles, but I got to be honest, the casual fan base might not. But that's all I got for you when it comes to Mason Graham. If you like the video, do a favor, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me congratulations for graduating in the comments, you feel me? Big degreed up, real educated man, you feel me? But share, do all of that. Let me know what you think about Mason Graham, and let me know if I did a Patreon, which I am probably going to do. What would be the price that you would see? I wouldn't charge a lot. What would the price you would pay to see weekly SEC tape? So you get guys like Prince Uiagalelei, you get guys like Luther Burden, you get all the SEC guys that you want to see, because I make money on these now. And I would like to have these monetized, you feel me, so they don't take me out the algorithm and steal all my money. You feel me? So Patreon, maybe like $3, $4, you feel me? Get you a weekly video maybe. I'll make another tier where you get some more Panthers content or more content from other teams. We'll have to see. Just let me know in the comments. But this has been a Robot Watcher. Put up your binoculars. Congratulate me. I'm graduated. I'm out.